What if I told you that some of the most game-changing albums in rock history are collecting dust in music libraries while everyone obsesses over the same classic records? You've probably wondered why certain groundbreaking sounds seem to come out of nowhere, or how your favorite bands develop their signature style, or even why some albums that clearly influenced entire genres never get the recognition they deserve. The truth is, music history is full of hidden gems that literally rewrote the rulebook, but somehow got overshadowed by bigger names and better marketing. Today I'm revealing 15 albums that didn't just influence rock music, they completely transformed it, even though most people have never heard of them. 1. The Shags, Philosophy of the World, 1969.
Oh, the rich people want what the poor people got, and the poor people want...
Let's start with perhaps the most controversial entry on this list. The Shags' Philosophy of the World sounds like musical chaos at first listen, but this album inadvertently pioneered what would later become outsider music and lo-fi aesthetics. Three sisters from New Hampshire, forced by their father to form a band based on a palm reader's prediction, created something so raw and unconventional that it influenced everyone from Frank Zappa to Kurt Cobain. The album's complete disregard for traditional song structures and timing laid groundwork for punk's DIY ethos and experimental rock's boundary-pushing spirit. 2. The Velvet Underground and Nico, 1967.
The things she doesn't need, she's just a little...
While this album eventually gained recognition, it was completely ignored upon release, selling fewer than 30,000 copies in its first 5 years. Yet Brian Eno famously said that everyone who bought this record started a band. The Velvet Underground's debut introduced drone rock, art rock, and a gritty urban sound that would birth punk, alternative, and indie rock decades later. Lou Reed's deadpan vocals over John Cale's experimental arrangements created a template that countless bands would follow, but in 1967, it was too ahead of its time for mainstream acceptance. 3. Big Star, #1 record, 1972. Speaking of influential obscurity, Big Star's debut album practically invented power pop and alternative rock simultaneously. Alex Chilton's jangly guitar work and Chris Bell's soaring harmonies created a sound that would later inspire R.E.M., The Replacements, and countless indie bands of the 80s and 90s. The album's commercial failure masked its artistic achievement in blending Beatles-esque melodies with a harder rock edge, establishing a formula that would dominate alternative radio 20 years later. 4. Captain Beefheart, Safe as Milk, 1967. Before Trout Mask Replica gained cult status, Don Von Vliet's first major release was already breaking musical boundaries. Safe as Milk merged blues, rock, and avant-garde experimentation in ways that predicted everything from Tom Waits' later work to the alternative rock explosion. Ry Cooder's guitar work combined with Beefheart's otherworldly vocals created a blueprint for art rock that influenced generations of musicians seeking to push beyond conventional song structures. 5. The Stooges, Funhouse, 1970. While The Stooges gets more attention, Funhouse was the album that truly birthed punk rock's sound and attitude. Iggy Pop's primal screams over the band's chaotic rhythms captured a raw energy that wouldn't be matched until the Sex Pistols emerged 6 years later. The album's influence on punk, post-punk, and alternative rock cannot be overstated, yet it was completely ignored by critics and audiences when released. 6. Love Forever Changes, 1967. Arthur Lee's psychedelic masterpiece combined folk, rock, and orchestral arrangements in ways that predicted both prog rock and alternative music's more sophisticated moments. The album's dark beauty and complex compositions influenced everyone from Led Zeppelin to Radiohead. But poor promotion and the band's internal problems kept it from finding its audience until decades later. 7. The MC5, Kick Out the Jams, 1969.
I want to see your hands out there. Let me see your hands. I want everybody to kick up some noise.
Captured live at Detroit's Grand Ballroom, this album didn't just document a performance, it bottled lightning that would power punk rock's entire movement. The MC5's political fury and sonic assault created a template for aggressive rock music that mainstream audiences weren't ready for, but underground scenes would adopt as gospel. 8. Can Tago Mago, 1971. German pioneers Can created something entirely new by blending rock with electronic experimentation and world music influences. Tago Mago established krautrock as a genre and influenced everything from post-punk to electronic dance music. The album's hypnotic rhythms and innovative production techniques predicted sampling culture and ambient music decades before those movements emerged. 9. Television, Marquee Moon, 1977. Tom Verlaine's guitar wizardry and the band's sophisticated approach to punk created an album that influenced alternative rock, post-punk, and indie music for decades. While punk was supposed to be simple and direct, television proved that complexity and virtuosity could coexist with punk's rebellious spirit, paving the way for bands like Sonic Youth and Pavement. 10. The Modern Lovers. The Modern Lovers, 1976.
I'm in love with Massachusetts and the neon when it's cold outside.
Jonathan Richman's innocent observations over Lou Reed influenced arrangements created the template for indie rock's more introspective moments. Though recorded in 1972, the album's delayed release meant its influence spread through underground networks, shaping everyone from Talking Heads to countless college rock bands of the 80s. Elf, New, 1972. Another krautrock masterpiece, New's debut album essentially invented the motoric beat that would drive decades of electronic and alternative music. Klaus Dinger and Michael Rother's minimalist approach influenced Bowie, Radiohead, and the entire post-punk movement, but remained largely unknown outside Germany for years. 12. The Monks, Black Monk Time, 1966. 5 American GIs stationed in Germany created one of the most ferocious albums of the 60s. Black Monk Time predicted punk rock's aggressive sound and anti-establishment attitude by a full decade. The band's use of electronic manipulation and feedback influenced garage rock, punk, and alternative music, but the album was too extreme for 60s audiences. 13. Amon Düül II, Yeti, 1970. This German collective's sprawling double album combined rock with free-form experimentation in ways that influenced prog rock, post-rock, and experimental music. Their communal approach to music making and willingness to embrace chaos over structure created sounds that wouldn't become mainstream until decades later. 14. The United States of America. The United States of America, 1968. Joseph Byrd's electronic rock experiments created sounds that predicted both progressive rock and electronic music. Using early synthesizers and ring modulators, the album achieved sonic textures that influenced krautrock, electronic music, and experimental rock, but was too strange for contemporary audiences. 15. Silver Apples, 1968. Simeon Cox's homemade electronic instruments and Danny Taylor's tribal drumming created electronic rock music before the term existed. Their hypnotic, primitive sound influenced electronic music, krautrock, and experimental rock, establishing them as unlikely pioneers of electronic music decades before it became popular. These 15 albums prove that music's most important innovations often happen in obscurity, waiting years or decades for the world to catch up. Each record shattered expectations and rebuilt them, creating new possibilities for what rock music could be. Their influence ripples through every genre and generation, even as their names remain whispered secrets among true music lovers. Drop a comment telling me which of these albums blew your mind the most. Hit subscribe for more hidden music history, and get ready to discover the records that changed everything while nobody was watching.